What's up, y'all? You're watching Union Minded. I'm your host, Eric, and today we're going to cover the president's visit to my local union hall. That's what's up. The president visited Local 26's Union Hall yesterday and gave a speech from our lobby. And an article was written about it on the Daily Record. So I'm going to go ahead and link the article in the description box so you guys can read it for yourself. But if you are a member of IBEW Local 26, the president came to talk to us at the local union hall. I wasn't there. I did read the article though, and it was cool to hear what he had to say. So I'm going to bring that to you guys, and that's the spirit of this video. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe button, ring the notification bell, drop some comments, and share these videos, especially with your local 26 brothers and sisters who would benefit from the information. So without further ado, again, this is from the Maryland Daily Record. All right. This article is written by Capital News Services. It came out yesterday. All right. Lanham. President Joe Biden on Wednesday highlighted several key points of his economic plan: improving infrastructure, funding accessible health care, emphasizing American manufacturing, and lowering the deficit during a speech to friendly union workers. "We got more work to do," Biden said at the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local Union 26 here. "But it's never been a good idea to bet against America, and I can honestly say, as I stand here today, that I've been more optimistic about America's future." It was a familiar line in a 30-minute speech that echoed his State of the Union address on February 7th. Biden also reiterated his pledge to protect Social Security and Medicare and tax Fortune 500 companies, part of what he is calling a blue-collar blueprint. Accompanied by notable state and congressional leaders, including Maryland Governor Wes Moore, Senator Ben Cardin, and Rep. Glenn Ivey, Biden also touted his efforts to reduce carbon emissions by building charging stations, improving transportation infrastructure, including replacing an aging railroad tunnel in Baltimore, and reduce the cost of prescription drugs such as insulin. By contrast, our Republican friends are doubling down on the same failed politics of the past: top-down, trickle-down economics. "There is not much trickle down at most kitchen tables in America," the president said. That's true. So a lot of the old talking points have been coming about from the right-hand side of the aisle. Ivey said he endorsed the president's message, saying there is a lot of positive news to spread, especially at the IBEW, which he said has been a backbone union in Prince George's County for ages. "I think the key thing we're trying to do right now is make sure the American people hear about all the things that are coming," Ivey told Capital News Service. "From funds, reductions in costs from prescription drugs, infrastructure, building out, spending, internet access, all of those things I think are important for him to tell." Biden repeated his call for Republican lawmakers to pass the proposal for a minimum billionaire tax and to increase the minimum tax requirements for billion-dollar companies. "I'd like to see more pushing for the increase of the minimum wage and stuff of that nature as well." After criticizing the Trump administration for sending the country further into debt by enacting tax cuts for the wealthy, tax cuts which are still in place, by the way, Biden said his proposed tax reforms involving large corporations would help decrease the U.S. deficit. That's true, because the Biden administration did sign in the 15% tax for corporations, which was more than they were paying, because a lot of corporations were paying 0%. "If Republicans try to take away people's health care, increase costs within class families, and push Americans into poverty, I'm going to stop it," Biden said. That's cool, but what if corporations tried to do it? We do need to start addressing the elephant in the room. We need to start addressing the corporations. And I understand that it's an election and it's hard to, in this environment, go after big business. But I think it's a good message to the American people to say that we need to have corporations held responsible. And he did that earlier in the speech, talking about the corporate tax rate. But it's not Republicans get their directives from lobbyists who also direct the Democrats. So I'm just trying to give you a little bit of a peek behind the veil, because the veil is the show, and the show is, if Republicans try to take away people's health care, increase costs with class, blah, 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 push Americans into poverty, I'm going to stop it. That's part of the show. That's what big business wants to happen, because they want to save, you know, they want more money for themselves. And so this is part of the show. But a little peek behind the veil, we need to start outing that it's corporations that are the biggest problems. The union members positioned behind the president held signs with slogans such as IBEW 26 stands with Joe, and IBEW plus IBEW equals perfect union. Biden's very much been committed to the worker and especially to unions. B. Travis Brown, a fourth-year apprentice at IBEW, said in an interview with CNS, "It's great to see him continue to work on legislation that's going to help middle-class people and help families. That was one of the promises that he campaigned on, and it's just really nice to see him coming to put that plan into action." Roland Carter, president of IBEW Local 70, so president of IBEW Local 70 was interviewed for this article, where he has been a member for 24 years, said he was grateful that the president came to speak to union workers. "It's a big deal, especially for union workers and for workers, period. It's showing that he's not about a bunch of talk. He's about action, and it's trickling down to where it's supposed to be, to the middle class," he said. "I hope it creates in the minds of the young people who are coming up behind us that they have to continue to push for the same exact things that he, as in Biden, is pushing for," Carter added. Matt McLaughlin, a union member of Amalgamated Transit Union Local 1300 in Baltimore, said he felt reassured by Biden's speech, both as a union member and as someone who uses insulin. "One thing that this country does is they tend to discard their seniors, and we shouldn't do that," McLaughlin said. Earlier in the day, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, a Republican out of Kentucky, offered a different view of White House policies in a speech on the Senate floor. "We've now had 21 straight months above 5% inflation, a mind-boggling policy failure," the senator said. "And what does the White House have to say about it? Yesterday, the president's press secretary proclaimed the president's economic plan is indeed working. So I guess the official White House position is that Democrats caused all this crushing inflation on purpose," McConnell said. "This is the kind of insanity that left just 16% of Americans saying that they are in a better financial position than they were 2 years ago." McConnell's words ring hollow because what policy is McConnell pushing? You know what I mean? His party wants to revoke protections for seniors. They fight against wage increases. But again, it's part of the show, right? Because in all reality, big business controls policy and what gets passed and what doesn't. And then the show is, oh, it's his fault. Oh, it's his fault. And it's like the two Spider-Man caricatures, and they're like, he did it. No, he did it. But that's the article that I found on the visit of the president to IBEW Local 26's Flagstaff Union Hall up in Lanham, Maryland. I saw quotes from an apprentice, Travis Brown. Good job, Travis. I saw a quote from the IBEW Local 70 president. And so that's good, you know, that they were able to give some good answers to questions that were asked of someone who was trying to document the event. And good job, Local 26, for hosting the event. Now let's just get the PRO Act passed and let's pressure Biden. I always say that Local 26 is in such close proximity to DC that we should really have a stronger influence on national policy just by the alliances we can build with other trade unions within the DC metropolitan area. Imagine if you start to really coalesce a force of all the workers around all the politicians. Those politicians go out to coffee shops, they go out to get sandwiches and all these other different things. And imagine if you coalesce the workers all around the Capitol to make life a little bit less comfortable for these politicians when they're in town, and that you can influence policy that is nationwide. I think it's a radical idea, but it's something that hasn't been tried before, effectively anyway, since I've been here. So I think we should try it. And it would be cool to see us as a labor force in DC have an impact on national policy. That's just my view. I'm an idealist, I'm an optimist. I always see what's possible, and I tend to not tell myself we can't do these things. But that's just me. Anyway, Remember, the fight's not left and right, it's up and down. It's going to take solidarity to win always. Each one teach one, get out there and reach one, and there could be no union without you and I front and center. Peace out.